Okay, we're going to go to the next section, which I guess I thought it up. I called it Mythbusters, and we're going to talk about a few things that you might have shared with your friends on social media or Facebook or just whatever. And again, I just want to talk about these things and answer any questions, because as a community, I think we need to move past most of these and look for solutions, not to try to lay blame for what you might think are bad decisions or from different commissions. But I think we need to share some thoughts. I'm happy to answer questions, but I wanted to talk about some of these things. And again, we have, I want to be, transparency, I guess is the word, and I want to be as transparent as we can to tell everybody what we have. My first slide talks about probably the biggest one, that we wasted all the money on what I'll call a city complex. In moving to the building next door, which is the old bank building, and I wanted to show you what the actual costs were and some utility costs. On the left of your screen, the cost for City Hall, this is the Bank of Lenawee building in the renovations. We've spent $1,825,000 buying that building and fixing it. The city chambers used to be from the public school building. They owned it for a long time. We paid $140,000, repaired it. The total cost there was $809,000. The police facility, we acquired an old accounting building. We demolished that and built the police facility there. The total cost of that was $2,693,000. We have some bonding costs in there as well, but that's the raw cost of those three buildings. To stay, and I would say below that is library repairs, which is not what I consider buying a new building or anything. As you may recall, the front of this building fell off, okay? And we decided at that point in time, the City Commission, I see Commissioner Valentine, former Commissioner Valentine was here. We had some Donnybrooks about that time. Do we repair this building? Do we not? That type of thing. The decision was made to actually repair the library, restore it, get it up to speed. We did that, and we've spent just shy of $1 million on doing that. On the right-hand side of the slide, had we stayed in Old City Hall, we had estimates from an architect that actually a couple of them that looked at it. The cost of staying there and repairing it was $4.6 million. I will tell you just a brief summary of what was wrong with it, which maybe I should say what was right with it. It'd be a little easier. The roof was out of warranty. The heating system was original to the building in 1970. The electrical, when I took my job, I had one electric plug in the room. That was built before computers and things, and everybody had power strips hanging from the ceilings. Terry Collins could not open his drawer because he had a power strip open up the side. The water, one of my best days, I think, I was being interviewed by a Telegram reporter when the ceiling fell in with water and all the water fell in my electrical inspector's hat. He came over to me and dumped it upside down, and he said, "What are you going to do about this, boss?" And I said, "I never liked that hat anyway." But anyway, the building was in rough shape. It violated every ADA code. The stairs were wrong. The ramp was wrong. Everybody that walked into that building came in the back door. They were typically greeted by people who had been arrested the night before. Waiting to get in to get booked. It wasn't the most inviting, welcoming place in town. The plan of the City Commission was to put that, to sell the property. We really had no takers for any money, so we sold it for $1 with the agreement of D&P that we got to sign off on what the new building would look like. One of the goals was to get competition for Comcast in Adrian. We succeeded that. We're going to have competition for Comcast. It's going on the tax rolls for the first year. They're going to pay about $4,000 a year in property taxes, and they're hiring people to be employed there. We did that. Now, if you look at the old City Hall, we were going to pay $4.6 million to fix the thing, but the police had outgrown their use. You may argue with that, of course, and say, well, we needed to put them back. I don't think any police officer will agree with that one. But I just took the same amount of money that we paid for a new facility. You could have probably found a used building and tried to renovate that for something less, but I don't think for $2 million less. If you look at that number and add that to the repairs, you're at about $7.3 million, which is about $2 million more than making our move. Now the next slide I think is probably the most interesting, because people have said, well, you know, you've got all these buildings and the utilities are going to eat you up. And I just want to show you what utilities we paid on our old building in the last year. On the right side, we have the annual utilities, which are just shy of $89,000 a year. We're paying $60,000 in electric and $26,000 and change for gas. We moved to new City Hall, if you will, which is a 100-year-old building. On the left, the electric bill is $31,000. Our gas is $5,480. We pay $38,000. We save $50,000 a year by moving into that building. $50,000 a year. 10 years, we'll save $500,000 in utilities in that building. It's a third bigger, but that either tells you how efficient this one is or how bad the other one was, or a combination of it. But that's the truth. Now you can say, well, you bought a city chambers and a police department, and so you should consider that. So I said, well, let's put those figures to the test. Those costs are also under the new City Hall laws. Column, we're paying $49,000, just shy of $5,000 a year for utilities for the city chambers. We're paying $20,000 a year in police for a total of $64,000. So if you want to get picky and compare the 64 to the 90, we're still saving $25,000 a year in utilities if you look at all three buildings. Okay, so that's the story on the city complex. We had extra money because our contractor did a great job, and I would submit that we used about 80% local contractors. It provided them with employment at probably the worst time of the recession, which they were very proud of, and I'm very proud of all of them. We had union, non-union workers. Kirk Valentine managed that, frankly, superbly. I didn't mean to give you kudos, but you did a superb job. Saved us money, and we're all going to be the beneficiaries.
You hit me on the other thing with the library.
Okay.
So.
So we're thankful for that. But the local contractors did a good job, and I think we've got a home for a long time. Not to say that we wouldn't have vacant buildings downtown, too. The post office obviously would still be vacant, I think. I don't think anybody would have put the money into that, and I'm not sure that there would be another employer in downtown Adrian the size that we are to occupy the bank building. So I think you need to look at the investment that we've made downtown. You can still say it's ridiculous. I think financially it merits at least a fair consideration that it's not maybe as bad as some people think. The next slide, please. Just very simply, senior programs. We've talked about the potential elimination of the recreation department. To be clear, the senior program is not a City of Adrian program. It is run by the Department of Aging, which is a county program. We have nothing to do with programming. Tom is here, has done a terrific job. I don't think the county pays any of their general fund towards support of senior citizens, do they?
That's correct.
So the county pays nothing toward it. Department of Aging, they are supported by a millage, which often is not enough to expand their services as they reach out to Meals on Wheels. And I just saw Tom's retiring, and he's been terrific, by the way. I mean, he's just done a... And I think that the public has supported him with his millages because he's done such a nice job taking care of seniors. And but that is not a city program. If the logic, I guess, is this: if the city, they're paying rent right now, I think it's like $2,800 a month. It's really below, we think, below market rent for with the space they use and the utilities that we pay and everything, because we pay the utilities. If the commission would do it, we would obviously talk to Tom, and if they would pay the cost of that building, they get to stay there, obviously, and I'd like to frankly work a deal that they could have it. You know, have the building we've talked about, because the city would have no use. However, if I guess it got to a bad situation, we put in about 50 to some years it was 100,000. Mark Gashie's done a good job managing that down. We put about $50,000 of, I'll say, a subsidy into that building. And so it'd be a significant increase for the Department on Aging, but they could stay there. But there is a 90-day out clause in the lease if we couldn't reach an agreement on how to take over. And I know Brana wants to stay there. I think she likes it and does also a great job. But that's the senior center. Again, it's not our program, but the senior, city obviously has supported that program. The next is two-way street conversion. I mentioned that earlier. All that money came from major street funds. You could not have used any of that money for general fund, for recreation, library. You could not use any of that money. It comes from the state and the gas tax, and that's what it was saved for. If you take argument, which it's fair argument to say it was a dumb thing to do, we should never have done it. The money could be used for streets, but it couldn't be used for anything else. So that's kind of the situation on that, but it could not be used for the general fund financing of other programs. Comstock Park Wall, I've heard you overspent on that. I would agree with you. I don't like how much we spent on it, but that also is not a general fund expense. That is a fee estate fence. We have a fee estate that is not quite $20 million in principal that we use the earnings off of to keep our park system going. We would be in horrendous shape in the city if we didn't have the fee estate money available to us, because we spend $600,000 or $700,000 a year for our park system. But the Comstock Park Wall, we have saved up, didn't borrow anything, we saved up, earned income from that, and we're paying cash for that, and that'll be done in we could have done a cheaper fix that would give us another 15 years, but this fix is supposed to give 70 years. I thought it was a better call to do it right the first time. It's about $650,000. It's a lot higher than the original estimates, but it will be safe. The other system was not safe. If you would have leaned on the thing, you'd have gone in the river, trust me. Farmers Market, I've been told that this is Dane Nelson's parking space for me. I haven't parked there yet. Maybe after tonight I'll sneak in there sometime, but I haven't parked under the walls. The truth is no general fund money was used for that. It was grant funded by Department of Agriculture, I think. We got a grant for about $280,000. Our match for the money came from the repaving of the parking lot that Chris Bauer did. That's our match. Again, no money spent there could have been used for general fund. We think it's a nice addition to downtown Adrian. It was primarily free. We think it's going to help with Adrian Farmers Market downtown and make downtown a little more vibrant. But again, it's not a general fund expense, and it's certainly not my parking spot. I already talked about the prison. The prison's not in the city. We don't get any funding for that, and we provide very little service. If they need a backup or have something bad going on, we would be called. But typically we don't give any service for it. They do buy our water. That's really the only relationship we have with the prison. Carla, I heard that the city gave incentives to the mall. We haven't. I don't know who thought that. We haven't given any incentives to the mall. If they would rehab the place and spend a few $1,000,000, we might talk about it, but the way it is right now, no. Matter of fact, we just had a tax settlement with them. We had to refund a lot of money to the mall for because of the condition of the property and the rental rate, and we have to pay them back like $110,000 for overcharging them, which is going to come out of our fund balance. I don't know if we've paid that yet, but within a couple of weeks. I'm sorry? Yeah, good. Okay, the mall's going to come back. We just want them to come back soon. The other myths, recreation fees cover all costs. There's been a discussion. We're about $370,000 short from revenues that we receive from residents and non-residents for city programming over the cost. Mark gave me a sheet to kind of confirm that. What it doesn't cover really we try to cover the direct costs of activities like referees or umpires and and taking care of the fields a little bit. But the things that are not covered, and I trust Mark, he's a great rec director. He's told me that if we charged that extra $370,000 and spread that against all your programs, nobody would participate. It would be too much. Okay, and we have, and frankly, not only people that, adults can pay, but I grew up here close on the east side, and it's very important to me to take care of the kids that don't have very much, and there's no way that they're going to be able to pay very much. But they office supplies, printing, postage, advertising, insurance, utilities, building maintenance, field maintenance, vehicle rental, paying for their share of our computer system, and capital improvements. Those things are not covered by fees. So it is not self-sustaining. The pool is not self-sustaining. We spend about $50,000 a year to operate the Bone pool. And I will tell you, as we get closer in the presentation to talk about revenue choices, when you think about revenues, you need to understand the pool is on its last legs. Okay? We bought a liner, Mark, 3 years ago? And we have about 2 years left on the liner. We paid $100,000 for a new liner. The mechanicals are original equipment. They've never been replaced. It's built on a swamp. We have to dewater it every year to start it up. If we don't find another way to pay for a new pool, that will go by the way of the old outdoor ice rink, because there's no money saved for it. There's been no assessments to do it. And so that could be a moot, we can argue about the pool, but unless we come up with funding for a new pool, that will be a moot point in a year or two anyway. I've heard that the parks would be included in potential elimination. That is not true. The fee estate funding would maintain the park system. We would not anticipate any closing of parks. That just would not happen. Next is a district library. We started, and the issue there is that we could save a lot of money by merging the county and the city library. I would agree, yes, you could. We prepared a proposal to the county to do just that. We collectively could save really several $100,000 if we did it, but you'd have to give up one library. As you can just see, we put $1 million into our building. We were not in a position to say that we're going to give up our building is losing the library. The county group wanted to appoint a district library board and have them decide whether or not to close our library or not. That was not acceptable to us. And we wanted to save money, and there was no agreement that we would